Leopold II ruled as the second king of the Belgians from 1865 until 1909. He was responsible for the deaths of millions during his quest to establish the Congo Free State. After seizing control of the Congo, he forced its people into labor against their will. Leopold brutalized the population in his campaign to extract the area's ivory, rubber, and other natural resources. He ordered his commanders to use violence and any means necessary to accomplish his goals, which included beating innocent people, cutting off appendages, burning buildings, enslaving children, torture, and murder. The brutality of Leopold's exploitation of the Congo and its people can be seen as a blueprint for subsequent genocides. It was one of the first industrialized crimes against humanity committed by a European monarch, though it would not be the last. Leopold's campaign resulted in a massive number of deaths, with some estimates putting the total at 10 million Congolese people. Many of these deaths were attributable to famine and disease caused by his regime. Another deadly dictatorship occurred in the Soviet Union from 1922 to 1952 under Joseph Stalin's rule. This period was similar to the Chinese Maoist revolution in its attempt to transition the nation from agricultural practices to industrialization. Farmers who did not cooperate with the collectivization of farmland were killed, and millions died as a result of famine brought on by mismanagement of crops. Millions more were sent to forced labor camps where they perished. In the late 1930s, Stalin initiated the Great Purge to eliminate anyone he perceived as a threat. In 1939, he signed a non-aggression pact with Hitler, promising to stay out of German-controlled areas. He then invaded various countries in Europe. 2 years later, Germany broke the pact and invaded the Soviet Union. By 1949, Stalin had exploded a nuclear weapon, established several communist states in Eastern Europe, and initiated the Korean War in 1950. His period of power resulted in approximately 13 million deaths. Adolf Hitler. The second deadliest dictatorship in history occurred during the Nazi Holocaust under Adolf Hitler's power. During this time, an estimated 13.7 million people were killed. Hitler was obsessed with the idea of a pure human race which, in his mind, excluded Jews and other groups. After becoming Chancellor of Germany, and later assuming the presidency in 1933, Hitler and the Nazis set up concentration camps for those who opposed their ideologies. During the first year of the Nazi regime, around 27,000 people were housed in these camps. By 1939, Nazi forces had invaded Poland, creating Jewish ghettos with overcrowded, impoverished conditions. Residents of these ghettos were later sent to concentration camps, where they were worked to death or killed. People with mental illness and physical disabilities were also persecuted and killed. The German occupation spread throughout Europe, targeting anyone not of Aryan descent, and sending them to Poland, where mass killing experiments were conducted. Germany surrendered on May 8, 1945, 1 week after Hitler's suicide, marking the end of this deadly dictatorship. Mao Zedong. Between 1946 and 1976, China suffered under the rule of Mao Zedong, a communist revolutionary who founded the People's Republic of China. He led a great cultural revolution, known as the Great Leap Forward. Mao implemented extensive land reforms, converting large tracts into agricultural collectives for communal use. Private farming was prohibited, and by 1958 private landholding was illegal. Rural residents were forced into these collectives, and anyone who did not comply was prosecuted. The government taxed harvests and bought crops at fixed prices to stockpile grain for future famines. Millions of farmers were redirected to iron and steel production to industrialize the nation. The government enforced several changes in planting practices to increase yields, but these changes resulted in disastrous declines. Between 1959 and 1961, China suffered a great famine due to these policies. The government did not evenly distribute grain, prioritizing urban centers and leaving rural workers with only harvest surplus. Approximately 36 million people died during this time. Mao's unpopularity in cities led to the 100 Flowers campaign, where he sought ideas from urban residents concerning his policies. The campaign met with extreme criticism and protests, resulting in the imprisonment of those who disagreed with the communist approach. Mao's rule, known as the Maoist catastrophe, caused approximately 47 million deaths.